What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another Comically Boston Breakdown episode, because today we are talking about the season premiere of The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 1, titled Future Days, and breaking down all the details that happen in this episode and all the little things and Easter eggs that tie it to the game and how they're differencing themselves from the show to the game, and also, where they could be going throughout this season, and, predicting a little bit. And, I'm going to try and not spoil it for the people that haven't played the games, and tell you what's coming forward, you know what I mean? But for people that haven't played the games, I am going to be pointing out things that aren't necessarily spoilers in this episode, but are things that game people sat up and looked forward and went, I've done that in the game, and you expect them to go do something else because of what they did in the game. But this show has been awesome. Season 1 breakdowns, I'm pretty sure, are up on the channel from 2023, so you can go see what I looked like 2 years ago, and I'm sorry in advance. I have no idea how those videos turned out all them years ago, but I'm hoping that the video quality is better now, and my ability to do breakdowns for TV shows are better. But let's get right on into it, shall we? Coming off of the end of Season 1, Joel made the choice to take out the Fireflies and save Ellie, which is like the whole point of the first game. The whole point of that first season is to put you into one of two camps. Would you save Ellie, or would you leave her and let Ellie save humanity and get a cure for this infected virus? Or are you Joel and you're going to get your daughter no matter what, And many people think Joel's correct, many people think Joel's wrong. I think that's the whole point, make it decisive, make it, split the audience. The second game splits the audience even more and really, was controversial at the time, and I really loved the second game. I think it's one of the best games ever created, and I've been replaying it now for multiple times, and I know myself I'm going to be replaying it as this season goes on for the next 7 weeks. I'm so excited. But we ended Season 1 when Joel and Ellie went back to Jackson, and Ellie asked Joel a question, and she says, "Swear to me that everything you told me about the Fireflies was true." And Joel says, "I swear." And Ellie kind of looks at him, knowing he lied, straight to her face, and just says, "Okay." And she's like, "Okay, I'll go back with you." But that's pretty much sets up where they are at the start of this season, with not really, together. And she's pissed he lied to her. And, that was her whole purpose in life, was to be this cure that everyone else dies to. And Joel took that away from her. But we open this season on a giraffe eating leaves, reminding us of the giraffe scene from last season and the giraffe scene from the game, which is awesome. But this scene opening the show is not in the game. Or it might be, but we just don't see it, you know what I mean? It happens off screen. But we open on the giraffe eating leaves in a family of giraffes outside at St. Mary's Hospital in Salt Lake City, where Joel and Ellie were last season. And, they have a bunch of graves on the ground for all the Fireflies that Joel took out. And these are all of Abby's friends, and I call her the Abby's Fireflies for the moment until we see them end up in Seattle. I still think they're Fireflies at this current moment. But Abby and her group of friends, Owen, Mel, Nora, and Manny, all standing next to these graves, which are everyone that Joel killed. And Owen says, "We should go north to Seattle. I know somebody named Isaac out there," which we'll probably meet later this season, or maybe even in Season 3. I don't know where or how far we're going to get in Season 2 here. But Owen wants to go north, and Abby says, "We're going after Joel, and we gotta find Joel and make him pay and kill him." And she puts a dog tag of a Firefly dog tag, which is one of the things that you collect throughout the game. You keep picking up various different dog tags as you go along. And she puts the dog tag around the cross, and just kind of tears well up in her eyes, and she says, "Slowly." And they're like, "Huh? When we kill him, we're gonna kill him slowly." And she just, you can see the darkness behind her eyes, but also the sadness. And this is Catelyn or Caitlin Dever, I've been calling her Catelyn, but Caitlin Dever is playing Abby, and I really like how she looks. She looks almost exactly like the character, minus the super beefed up arms that Abby had in the game. But, you know, season 3 coming around, who knows? Caitlin Dever could be getting jacked for next season. But yeah, she like turns over her shoulder, as you can see that cross in the background. She's just like crying, but she's like, we're gonna kill that motherfucker slowly. And they go into the intro, that wonderful guitar intro as like fungus grows and the map of the United States grows with fungus, and you're just boom, 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 boom. The game composer of the game, and I believe he's also the composer for the show, nails it. Nails it. I don't know if he's playing a guitar or like a little banjo or like a special little guitar. Either way, Gustavo, can't say your last name, you're a legend. So after the intro, we cut 5 years later. So that friggin' classic endgame time jump, we cut 5 years later, and we cut over to Ellie getting punched in the face. She's got a bloody nose. And Ellie is fighting a guy named Caleb. And she starts doing jujitsu and starts Kimura armbarring his arm. So his arm's like back like this. And she starts Kimura armbarring this guy. And the guy starts tapping out. But she just keeps wrenching that arm, really, about to break this guy's arm. And he's a big dude, so he can handle it. But either way, she's friggin', he's tapping and she's not doing the rules of jujitsu and tapping. Like when somebody taps, you stop. You don't continue to rake on their shoulder and break it. But Ellie's, a different breed, so she doesn't stop until Jesse comes in, played by young Mazzino from Beef, and I've really loved this actor, and Jesse, he casted perfectly for Jesse, and Jesse comes in and tells her to stop, and she just kind of like goes boom pow or something like that, and he's like, listen, you can't just boom pow people's arms like when you're training, and he's like, I told him to pull his punch anyways, and she's like, why would you do that? And he's like, cause he would have knocked you out with one punch if he didn't, and if he knocks you out with one punch and breaks your nose, how am I gonna explain that to Joel? And she gets all mad, and she's like, don't pull punches. He's like, yeah, okay, whatever. But, Jesse's looking out for her. Jesse's also really respects and loves Joel. And he almost looks out for Ellie like a younger sister type of thing. And Joel's like the father he always wanted type of thing. Or like a big brother type of deal. But Jesse asks Ellie if she's going to this thing tonight. A dance? Cookout? But she only has the fight that they just had. And she's like, don't pull punches. And she walks out and we get to see Jackson. And Jackson looks awesome. And this season looks like it's going to be bigger and better than the first season. And like, they really built the town for the first season. It seems like they built a town on top of a town for the second season. Like, they entirely built Jackson. It's insane the amount of money they put into like cast and set for this season. But we cut over to lots of construction going on in Jackson, and pipes are filled with roots and maybe some other stuff. And Joel is fixing a breaker when Dina walks in, played by Isabella Merced. And Dina's one of the best characters in the game. So to get an Isabella Merced playing Dina is perfection. Between Jesse and her, the casting could not be better for these season 2 people. And like Abby's friends, oof. And Dina sits down across from Joel and asks him what's he doing. And, he's like, I'm fixing a breaker. And she goes, teach me. So, she's a smart little girl, and she's just nice, and she's like, willing to listen to him and hear what he's got to say, but she's also like just a super charming, nice person. She's like working on his construction team, and she's just like, yeah, there's a problem out there, but like, what are you doing? Teach me how to fix a breaker. And she's like listening, just all eye contact. Like, Dina's the best, dude. She just really is. But as she says, teach me, Joel goes, okay, how do you check for live wires in a breaker? And she goes, you lick them? No. And he goes, a voltage tester. You gotta make sure the wires aren't live so you don't electrocute yourself, type of thing. But she kind of cuts him off in the middle of him teaching her about this breaker and says, hey, why is she angry with him? And he kind of goes, she's your best friend, she don't tell you? And she's like, no. And he just kind of blames it on Ellie's 19 and no one likes their parents at that age. And she says, yeah, that makes sense. And she kind of buys it because Dina clearly doesn't know the real true story of what happened in Salt Lake City with Joel and everything that happened in season 1. But Joel says, and like puts on his little glasses as he does it and goes, I can't be responsible for someone else's emotional state. And he kind of sits there. We're like, that doesn't sound like Joel from the game at all. And Dina goes, oh shit, you're in therapy? Are you seeing Gale? And this therapist in Gale is not something that goes on in the game, but sure, definitely would probably be happening in real life. No, they have this community in Jackson with everyone with PTSD. You're telling me there's not going to be anyone that goes and sees a therapist, even in this crisis of the world, you know? Like, in going to a therapy session in the game would have probably been boring, but in the TV show, it works. And Gale is played by Catherine O'Hara, and she's so funny. Oh god, she's so funny. I love Gale. Oh, so much. If anything happens to Gale, I riot. But Joel's like to Dina, don't tell anybody I'm in therapy. And then we cut over to Ellie and Joel sniping headshots on clickers on the mountainside. And this happens more in like a springtimey setting in the game. But here they're up on a snowy mountainside, which was probably much more Canada in where they were shooting. But Tommy and Ellie. And Tommy played by Gabriel Luna, I believe. I really like him as well. He's great as Tommy, and I hope he gets even more to do over the next 2 seasons as Tommy. But they're headshot and snipers in this part in the game where, like, you know, you're learning to use a sniper at long range, and they kind of put physics into the gun like in real life. If you're shooting a target really, really far away and they're moving uphill, you gotta lead that shot, because if not, the bullet's gonna drop pretty hard. So she's aiming for a headshot and ends up hitting a clicker in the foot, which is like something I did in the game for sure. And then, you know, as it's on the ground, just keep shooting, trying to get that headshot. Especially when you're trying to go for all headshots, when you don't get one, it really bugs you. But Ellie and Tommy start to have an argument about Joel, and she screams, I'm immune! I'm immune! And she's like screaming on the side of the mountain. He's like, hey, listen, you said we wouldn't talk about that. And he's like, listen, you're gonna stick me on the wall? We're just sitting there watching and standing. I should be on the patrols. And she's like, if anyone should be on the patrols, then you shouldn't be worried about them getting infected and bit by clickers. It's me. I'm immune, motherfucker. Like, so she makes a good point, and Tommy says, all right, you'll go on the Alpine run today, the patrol, and you better listen to your captain. And of course she doesn't. But we then cut back to a cart of people arriving, families arriving into Jackson. And then we cut over to Maria and Joel talking about letting too many people into Jackson and not being able to build fast enough to house these people. And she's like, we need to build faster. And he's just like, well, I got this meter, you know, it's called the constructometer. And you just turn it up and the faster we build. And of course he's being sarcastic. But Maria's like, what the hell? Like, come on, we need to build faster, and try and get him to get on board with these things. And he's like, listen, you can't keep letting people in. And she's like, it's cold out there, it's snowing, you gotta let people in. And he's like, listen, I would let in everyone if I could, but you can't sacrifice the people you are protecting to protect more, and then you screw us over because you can't protect the people you were protecting, right? Like, you can't overuse the resources you guys have, right? You know, so you gotta expand your buildings and then let people in, instead of let people in and then decide to build. That you're always behind the 8 ball instead of in front of it, you know what I'm saying? Like, but we see Tommy and Maria's son at this moment, and her son runs in, and his name is Benji. And he runs over to Uncle Joel, and he's like, Uncle Joel, what is this? He starts looking at a map, and he's like, this is the map of town. See, we're here, and what's out there? Monsters are out there. What do we do to monsters? We shoot them. And he goes, have you been shooting monsters? You've been shooting monsters, haven't you? And then Tommy walks in and calls him Killer. So a little foreshadowing for Tommy's son here, which in the game, I believe she might have been pregnant, but we never saw Tommy and Maria have kids in the game. And also, just, you know, a little fun fact, Maria in the game is shown as a white blonde woman and not a black lady. So, you know, just a little change for the game, or for the show, that I don't mind at all, because the actress that plays Maria seems like really legit, like has acting chops. And, you know, adding this little fact that her and Tommy have a kid, and Benji, you know, gives a little bit more stakes to Tommy's family that's also here that he needs to protect, as well as Joel and Ellie. And Maria's like, Tommy, will you talk to Joel here? We were talking about construction and having to build faster. And Tommy looks at Joel and just goes, did you tell her about the constructometer? And she's like, yes, I heard about the friggin' stupid meter. And Joel says he has to go. And we see Joel goes over to therapy with Gail. And she puts a whiskey in front of him. They start drinking. And he's like, what's the occasion? We're drinking today in therapy? I didn't know we were supposed to do this. And she goes, it's my birthday. And I was feeling sad this morning. And he brings her payment, which is shaken stems. I've never felt more qualified in my life to explain something to an audience. Shaken stems are chafe. Not just shake, people call it shake, but it's called chafe. And it's the little particles of the nug, of the bud, if you would, of the weed that fell off in the bag, right? So everyone's smoking the nugs, and most of the time at the bottom of the bag, what you have is a bunch of chafe or shake. And it looks like all Joel was able to get her is shake and stems, which is the stems of the plant, which are sometimes made for teas and all stuff like that, but you're not really, you don't want to smoke stems or seeds. You want to smoke the bud, the herb. But moving on, she says, shake and stems, what am I, in high school? And he's like, it's winter, which is a notorious drought season for weed, not normally these days, but back in the day, it was harder to get pot in the winter times. And she says that never stopped Eugene, and but she says payment accepted either way. So he's paying for therapy sessions by way of weed. I love this therapist even more. Gail is honestly the love of my life. I really love this woman. If that's all she needed to be happy for the last 40 years was weed, I'm in. But she mentions Eugene, which was a character from the game that we stumble across his weed hideout, and Dina and Ellie see his weed hideout in the game and have a little moment. So maybe we'll see this scene later, probably next episode or the following episode. But Eugene was a character we never actually met or seen in the game, other than a photo with Tommy that was like of them when they were younger. But Eugene is a character that they're going to be exploring further in the show. And it gets interesting with Eugene here in a second. But they're drinking their whiskey, and she's sad because this is her first birthday in 41 years without her husband. Who's Gail's husband, and where is he? Clearly dead if he's not around, and he's been around for 41 years. But Joel likes Dina, and they start talking, and he brings up Dina, and he thinks Dina understands him, but she's not her son, and or not his daughter, and she just kind of goes, neither's Ellie. You can care for who you want to care for, bub, but you gotta talk about what you're not talking about here. Like, she can just tell that he's not saying everything. He says everyone can see that Ellie and him are fighting, and she goes, you know what, this is our 5th session, and she says straight up to him, like, you're lying to me. And she knows that he's leaving something out, and she's like, you want me to validate that? Fuck no. And I have a little clip of her saying it. So funny.
And you are definitely leaving something out, and you want me to validate that? No. In fact, fuck no.
You're leaving something out, and you want me to validate that? No. Matter of fact, fuck no. Oh, she doubles down. Oh, I love her so much. She's eating this scene up. And she's not even like a character in the game. So this is just special for the show. I really like it for people like me that have played the games, that are like wanting something a little bit not just the game. This is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. So in an effort to try and get Joel to say what he's not been saying, she says something that she's not been saying. And she says, you can't heal something unless you're brave enough to say it out loud. And we learn that Eugene was Gail's husband, and Joel shot and killed Eugene because Joel had to. And he had no choice, but she can't forgive him because of the way he did it and how he did it. We don't know how he did it, why he did it, who Eugene is, and why Joel has a relationship with Eugene, or why he's dead. We just already knew he was gone and dead by the time the game, like, we mentioned him in the game. And it certainly wasn't mentioned that Joel killed him in the game. So I believe this is going to be maybe an episode 3 flashback, kind of like the Bill and Frank episode, but we're going to see the Eugene flashback, and it's going to be that whole story and what happened to Eugene with Joel. But Gail and Joel in the middle of this little fight, and like, you killed my husband, but I'll still be your therapist, but I'm mad at you, but you aren't telling me the truth, and I'm trying to be your therapist. Like, they're having like a little button heads, like Rams moment here, but ooh, what a good scene. And she absolutely hates Joel for what he did, but she says to him, Joel, you need to say what you've been afraid to say. What did you do? Did you hurt her? Did you do something to her? So she's asking her, like, you know, pretty much, did you touch this girl inappropriately? And he's like, no. Then what did you do, Joel? He's got tears in his eyes welling up, and then his like fist clenches, and then he kind of has this like killer stare as he's staring across the table into Gail's eyes, and he stands up and says, I saved her, as the tear rolls down his eye, and then he walks out angry, and you're like, Jesus Christ.
I saved her.
What a fucking line by Pedro Pascal, and just like, ooh, chill bumps watching the scene, chill bumps thinking about the scene. Absolutely unreal. But after Joel walks out saying he saved her, we cut over to Ellie in her garage, which is a garage behind Joel's house. So instead of living with Joel in his house, she has her own space in the garage behind the house. So Ellie's in her garage, cleaning her gun, listening to Nirvana, and we see her tattoo, which is new for season 2. And we see the tattoo. It's kind of in the outline stage and heading towards like the finished stage of her tattoo. And Dina comes to pick up Ellie for their run. And we learn that Ellie traded her boots for a holster. Very Ellie. She, of course, wants a gun holster so she can look cool instead of having boots so her feet don't get frostbitten, you know? And Dina's like, you should have kept the boots. But either way, she helps her like put the thing on and like ties her back holster gun strap tight so it doesn't fall off of her. And Dina clearly cares about Ellie quite a bit, but Ellie's like, what are you doing? Stop treating me like I'm your daughter, like you're a mum. But Dina's just too nice a person. Dina also calls her, hey, you look like Curtis and Viper, which is like a assassin, you know, spy movie genre thing, and there's like a Curtis and Viper 3 and multiple Curtis and Vipers, and this is like a movie thing, movie that Joel likes in the game. We never really see them watching it, but they talk about it a few times, and Dina and Ellie talk about watching it a few times, and Dina goes, hey, I was thinking about watching Curtis and Viper with Joel tomorrow night if you want to come. And she's like, yeah, I don't know about that, but let's go. And they go out on their Alpine run, and we see that their leader of the Alpine run is a girl named Kat. And we learn that Ellie and Kat used to be together, and in the game, we learn that Kat is the one that did the tattoo that Ellie has, and at least designed it. I don't know if she was the actual tattoo artist, but she drew it for her. And Jesse and Dina used to be together, and Dina says they broke up again, and Ellie's like, what's the deal between the two of you? Like, why do you guys keep breaking up? And she's like, we're just broken up for now. Like, so maybe Jesse and Dina will get back together. Maybe Dina really does love Jesse, just is tired of his bullshit sometimes. And maybe she just, you know, doesn't love men all the time, and she wants to go love a woman, which I don't blame her. I mean, Dina and Ellie forever. We also find out that tonight's event is the New Year's 2029 event, which kind of tracks with the 5-year time jump for 2024, right? Or 2023, 5 years would be 2028, New Year's Eve, heading into 2029. So season came out in 2023, 5 years later. You get the math there. But the team on the Alpine run rides up to some blood, and they're like all scared and spooked out of this blood. And Ellie and Dina disobey Kat and go do recon themselves. They're like, we'll recon Kat, we're doing recon, and they ride right up ahead. They ride up to see a bunch of infected dead on the ground, a bunch of blood everywhere, and they see that a bunch of infected took down a bear and then climbed into the market. And they literally recreated this market and this whole scene from the game. Like this literal scene, like where you ride up on a bunch of infected had murdered I think it's a moose in the game instead of a bear for the show, but they killed a moose for, you know, infected killed a moose, and then they climbed up on a truck and then into this market, and then you guys in the game climb up on the truck and go into the market and kill the infected inside the building. That's literally what they do in this show. I was like, wow, this is... at this moment, I was like, oh my god, this feels so much like the game. It is different because it was a moose in the game, and they don't crack this joke in the game. Dina goes to Ellie, what do you call Grizzly's ribs? And she goes, what? Barbecue. And she goes, did you make that joke up right now? That's good. You know, like, stupid little dad joke, but Ellie loves stupid little dad jokes. Ellie and Dina go and check it out, and they hear that multiple infected are inside. And Dina's kind of hesitant at first, and Ellie says, unless you would rather the men handle it. And Dina, like, puts her gun down, takes out her knife. She's like, let's fucking go. I'll hand-to-hand these fucking infected. And so Dina's badass. Ellie and Dina go in alone, and they sense two guys. They start making funny hand signals to each other. But before this happens, we see a picture of a dog in a picture frame, and it says July over this picture. And in the game, you see this same wall of employee of the month and a dog being the employee of the month for July or whatever month it was in the game. But in the game, the date of the dog employee of the month opens up a safe. So immediately she's looking at this dog picture frame, and I was like, oh my god, is she about to open up a safe and get utilities and stuff for, you know, for gameplay? Bullets and all types of rags and stuff for crafting? But no, you don't need to find safes and crafting in a TV show, but in the game, that's what you'd be doing right now. You'd be tiptoeing around and being able to find a safe and an extra gun or bullets and stuff like that in the game. Just a cool little Easter egg for the game players there. But then Dina says she's got one on her side. Ellie says she's got one on her side. And the hand signals they make to each other had me dying. I'm like already in love with Dina and Ellie so much. Dina's like, I'm gonna go over here, stab, stab, good? And she's like, yeah, solid. And then it cuts out, but Ellie says she's got one on her side too, and she's like, I'm gonna hop on its back, stab it, cut its throat out, bleed out, die. And they're like, okay, cool. And Dina tells Ellie to grab a bottle for distraction. All of the game players in this meme I saw on Twitter had me dying of the Leonardo DiCaprio meme pointing at the screen, but it's Joel's head and he's holding a Molotov cocktail. So funny, because in the game you can pick up bottles and craft them into Molotov cocktails, or you can pick up a bottle and use it as a distraction, which is exactly what Ellie does here. She uses a bottle as a distraction and then jumps on the back of a clicker or an infected's back and then kills it before falling through the floor of the market. And Dina's like, hey, are you okay? Is anything down there? And she's like, I don't hear anything. And Dina's like, I'm gonna find a way down, but you stay put. Of course, Ellie does not stay put, and she starts to walk around a bit and picks up a Jennifer Aniston magazine and starts like flipping the pages. She's like, hot, sexy at Jennifer Aniston, okay. And starts flipping the pages, but then we see as an audience something run in the background, real creepy and weird, and starts making weird noises. And this is where Ellie sees a stalker for the first time, and stalkers in the game are super creepy. But this is a creepy, tense scene for the audience as Ellie hunts to find what's hunting her. And the audience can see more than Ellie can at this moment as Ellie's tiptoeing around trying to find it. We see that it's been lurking around in the background behind her, and just like, we're like, come on Ellie, turn around, it's right there, fuck! Like, oh god, it was so gross that it's just like, it's right there behind her, but she can't see it, you know, like, and it honestly, like, in the game, I do lots of spinning around because I don't want anything sneaking up behind me, especially with, like, the creepy clicker noises. Like, I don't mind if, like, a Seraphite or a wolf sneaks up behind me, because they go, over here, and they speak before they shoot at you. The infected just click, 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 and then grab you, and you're like, ah, Jesus! You gotta spam buttons to get them off you, or it just kills you immediately, and you don't even get a chance to react to it. Like, ooh, I'm telling you, it's a pretty vicious game, but so good. The Last of Us Part 2, so good. So the stalker is like, you know, following Ellie, and she's like looking for it, and it pokes its head out, and it doesn't run at her, but just looks at her and starts making these weird noises. And Ellie sees it, and Ellie yells at it, "Run at me!" But it hides, and Ellie's like, "What the fuck?" And Ellie runs, and it's hidden, and then she's like walking around, and we see that it's right behind Ellie, and like crawls out from under a counter and like looks at her, and she's like a foot behind her, like, or 2-3 feet behind her, and we see that it's a woman stalker infected, and she's got no nose, and like the fungus is growing out of her nose and like trying to reach for Ellie, almost like the fungus like senses that Ellie's different to this fungus, you know what I'm saying? And we see as an audience that it's right behind her, and Ellie can kind of sense that it's behind her, and she turns and shoots at right behind her, but it's gone, and then it attacks Ellie from the side and bites Ellie in the stomach, and Ellie's able to kill it. But, you know, thank God Ellie's immune. She's just got a fresh bite wound to the stomach. And why bite in the stomach? You know, is this like, I don't know. We saw pregnant Ellie last season. It made my head think, like, why is this infected going to bite her? And if bite her anywhere, why the stomach? We then see that they go back to Jackson, and they are in some kind of court hearing room with the other leaders of the community of Jackson. And Tommy and Maria question Ellie and Dina. And Ellie, you know, tells them about this smart infected stalking her, aka where the term stalker comes in from. And, you know, just like clickers make a clicking sound, that's why they call them clickers, right? Bloaters, big and fat, that's why they call them bloaters. Maria, you know, believes what they have to say and says, "Okay, go apologize to Kat and give Jesse a report." And they're like, "Okay," and they beast. And all the community members then talk, and they know that Dina was lying. She didn't see anything. But they believe every word that Ellie says, because why lie? She's a beast. But they are worried about the infected scene that they found. A bunch of blood, dead infected. They took down a bear. Now they're smart stalker infected now. Like, ooh, creepy. But Tommy says 4 hours to midnight, meeting adjourned. And they adjourn the meeting, and then we cut over to Ellie back at her little garage, and she puts alcohol on her knife. And then she cuts her new bite wound, right? Like, she's a bite wound on her stomach, and instead of having the teeth bite scar on her stomach, she cuts the teeth, you know, marks, so that when it does heal up and scar, it's not going to be teeth, it will be like a cut wound from her knife. Her knife, we also learned, is her mother's knife, the same one that cut her umbilical cord, that is the reason why she's alive today, right? Poor mother, Ashley Johnson, we saw die last season. She got bit and gave birth while killing an infected. Like, Ellie's been fighting since birth, baby. But Ellie cuts the wound and then stitches herself up in the bathroom, and you're just like, oof, Ellie's a friggin' cold bitch. She would do anything to survive. But we then see Ellie writing in her journal, which is a big part of the game, and she writes the barbecue joke that Dina told her earlier in the episode when they were looking at the dead bear, but starts writing underneath it, "Don't fuck it up, don't fuck it up, don't fuck it up, don't fuck it up," when Joel comes in and asks her if she's going to the thing tonight, and he tells her that her strings, sees the guitar, and is like, "You been playing?" She's like, "Yeah, kinda, not really." And one of the things she made Joel promise in the first game was that she would promise Joel would sing for her, is one of the promises Joel made to her, and that he would teach her guitar. Also, you know, teach her to swim and other things like that. But hopefully we'll see those promises fulfilled, you know, through flashbacks of what happened over the last 5 years since they got back from that St. Mary's Hospital or whatever. So that goes to show, too, that Abby and her friends, like, she's been struggling with the death of her people, the Fireflies that died in the hospital that Joel killed, and it's been 5 years since that happened, and she's just now coming to find Joel and track him down. But so Joel, like, grabs her guitar and like, you know, looks at it and goes, "Hey, your strings are shot, I'll fix them, you'll get it back tomorrow." And she's like, "You don't need to do that," and he just walks out with the guitar, and it's like, oh man, like he's struggling to be a father and just talk to her, but he's just trying to do anything he can in his way to show her that he loves her rather than like tell her, you know what I mean? Like, he'll just do anything for her, and like he just wants to protect her, and just help her in any way he can and be there for her, but she just doesn't want him to be there for her at all. She doesn't want his protection. She just wants to be her own girl, you know, her own person. But as Joel leaves, we cut over to the event, and it's a dance, and Ellie is watching Dina dance to Little Sadie by Crooked Still, and we see a cameo by the game composer Gustavo. And a great shot from the game, pretty much plucked right out of the game. This shot here is from the game, with the lights in the background and the shot of Ellie in her plaid shirt with her hair tied up, and then the shot from the show. Beautiful lights, the hair tied up, same shirt, people dancing in the background. Like, one of the most beautiful scenes in the game that we don't get until much, much later into the game. Like, we don't necessarily see all this stuff early in the game, I don't think. At least I don't remember it. Like, I'm pretty sure it happens later in the game. But we get it, episode 1 here for us. Them dancing, and the Crooked Still in the playing their song, and then over there on the right is the composer Gustavo playing on his little guitar, and he's the best. Friggin' pew 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 pew. And we get the best, one of the best scenes from the game, and just one of the most emotional scenes from the game, as Ellie and Dina then go out to slow dance, right? And it's a beautiful scene in the game, and they're like dancing and talking, and Ellie's like, every guy in this room's looking at you, and Dina's like, are you sure they're not looking at you? And she's like, no, they're not looking at me. And she's like, well, maybe they're jealous of you. And she's like, why would they be? I'm no threat. And she goes, oh, Ellie, I think they should be terrified of you. And this is a great teaser. Like, I'm pretty sure this was a trailer for the game before the second game came out. And it's like they're dancing and, oh, Ellie, they should be terrified of you. And then it's a montage of like sweet Ellie smiling with Dina all happy and kissing her. And then cut to Ellie being a demon and killing, you know. Ellie's a beast. Like, we don't realize because we played as Joel most of the first game, but Ellie is a savage. If you don't remember the cannibal last season that she axed his face to friggin' all hell, Ellie is a savage, born and raised savage, you know what I'm saying? But man, oh man, is this scene so good. Oh, Ellie, they should be terrified of you. And Isabella Merced, like, I love Dina from the game. I didn't think I could love Dina anymore. And I mean, I won't lie to you, I kind of have a massive crush on Isabella Merced, like a real crush. Like, not just like, oh my god, she's a celebrity, I like her. She's like about my age. Like, I genuinely fuck with this bitch so heavy. Like, I love everything about her. All the roles she's been in that I've seen her in, she's crushed. I can't wait to see her as Hawkgirl and Superman. Dina, oh my god, she is so good as Dina. And like, the kiss is so magical. And they kiss and like, oh, Ellie and Dina, and she's like, sorry. And of course they're kissing. It's a beautiful scene. And like them just holding each other, like, oh, it's so good. But I have the whole scene here.
Hey, what took you so long?
Okay, this next one is a little slower.
Come on, let's go.
Hey, don't forget, you got early patrol, so get some rest.
Sir, yes, sir. How bad do I smell?
Like a hot pile of garbage.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, gross.
You're so drunk. Hi. Smoked a lot.
Every guy in this room is staring at you right now.
Maybe they're staring at you.
They're not.
Maybe they're jealous of you.
No reason to be. I'm not a threat.
Oh, Ellie. I think they should be terrified of you.
Oh, what a good scene. Like, I got chills and goosebumps just watching it all over again. That just romantic little guitar song as that woman's voice is so beautiful singing in the background. And like Ellie thinks she has no shot in hell with Dina. She loves her, but she thinks she's got no chance at all. She's like, I'm no threat. And Dina just, oh, Ellie, they should be terrified of you. And slowly you see the realization on Ellie's face, like after she kisses her, she's like, oh my god, what? And then she's like, oh my god, you like me back? Oh my god, this is gonna be awesome. And like, they just kiss, and if it was me, I would have took Dina and just started doing terrible things right on that dance floor. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. But, of course, the moment it cuts off, but it gets ruined by Seth. And I recognize the guy, but I don't know from where. But Seth here, real asshole from the game. And Seth looks at him and goes, hey, what are you guys doing? Like, they're kissing, and he calls him out for kissing. And he goes, it's a family event, which he's not wrong. And then he says, they're in a church, which he's also not wrong. But then he calls them dykes, and he's wrong for that. And Ellie turns around like, what the fuck did you just say? And Ellie comes back to hit him herself. But Joel comes running in hot and just bodies Seth to the ground and goes, get the hell out of here. And Maria picks up Seth and walks him out. And Joel just turns and looks at Ellie like, hey, are you okay? But Ellie is pissed. And Ellie's like, listen, what is wrong with you? I don't need your help. Like, I don't want your help. Like, she's just trying to be her own person. She thinks she's like a tomboy man. And he's just trying to protect this little girl. No, this little girl doesn't need protection. Ellie can protect herself, and she's right. She's wrong, but she's also right, and Joel's right, but he's also wrong. Ooh, tough situation. Sticky situation, if you would. But like, so Ellie's like, what's wrong with you? I don't need your help, in front of everyone, and embarrasses Joel in front of everyone. And Joel is just like, you know, the heartbroken look on his face. And like, it's, you know, a scene by scene, shot for shot remake of the game. And it is so perfect. And the look on Joel's face as he's just like, in his hair, like his hair looks so good, better than the game, and he just kind of walks out, and as everyone is like, oh my god, Joel and Ellie are fucking really going through a rough patch, and embarrasses Joel in front of the whole town. Gail's in the corner drinking, just like minding her own business, just like, you need to fix, you need to tell her, and you guys need to talk about what's going on. Like, so, you know, just adding a little bit of tension there between everything. And then Ellie coming home back to her garage from the event, and she's walking back to the house, and she sees Joel playing his guitar on the porch, and he like stops and looks at her, and it's like a heartbreaking little scene. And if I remember correctly, it might be a different moment, but they do have a conversation as Joel's playing the guitar on his front porch there at some point in the game. I thought it was right here, but maybe they cut that part out and just had it hurt more just to have her walk right on by Joel. And so Ellie walks right past Joel, but we cut to a shot of the pipe from earlier in the episode that was filled with all the roots, and somebody drops a sparkler, like one of those little celebrating sparklers, and drops it right next to the pipe, and fungus starts to react inside the roots, and almost like, you know, kind of that one scene from Boston or wherever they were in season 1 where they stepped on a patch of fungus and then a horde started running in. Not an element from the game, but definitely hordes of zombies coming in at like all at once. Definitely could be a interesting threat for a TV show version of a zombie thriller than a video game where we're fighting more zombies hand to hand. And then as we wipe from the pipe and the fungus getting affected, tense music plays as it cuts and makes it look like you know, the slow walk of infected are walking towards Jackson, as it starts to snow, and we see that Abby and her friends and her Firefly friends are outside of Jackson and closing in, and we cut to like Abby's face as the episode ends and goes to credits, and you're just like, oh my god. So Joel and Ellie are not talking, serious rough patch. she's definitely still mad for the last 5 years about what he did, and you know, she can't really accept his apology even if he wanted to. And but also Infected might be closing in on Jackson, as well as Abby and her Fireflies are closing in around Joel. And the teaser for next week in the season coming forward was nuts. We saw infected hordes, Seraphites or Scars from the game, Wolves, WLFs. So I have no idea how far we're getting in this season, but it seems like we're getting pretty crazy. And then, just like the second game and how much bigger it was than the first game, the second season of the show, it seems like, is going to be so much bigger than the game, right? Like, the game is big, but it's a game, right? So the show has to be even bigger to, you know, encompass all of that. And it just feels like the scale of this second season is going to be nuts. But they made a great point. Heroes, villains, right? Like, Abby's the bad guy, Joel's the bad guy, the Infected are the bad guy, the Seraphites, the Wolves, heroes, villains. It all really depends where you're standing and what point of view you're looking from. And that's a very, very good point going into this season. You know, maybe you shouldn't look at the villains as just villains. You know, maybe switch your point of view and your perspective a little bit and try and think of things outside the box a little bit, because there's a lot going on in this show and season and game, and it goes over some people's heads. But it's been a lot of fun talking about this episode 1 so far. 6 more weeks of The Last of Us Season 2. Stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for coming on by and watching this video. My name is Big Cam. If you want to follow my other social medias or message me about The Last of Us, links down in the description below. Commenting below, subscribing, liking these videos are all great ways to support the channel and help these videos do better and help the channel do better. Hitting that bell so you get the notifications and don't miss next week's episode. Thank you guys so much. One more time, my name is Big Cam, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace!